Recap in minutes. In today's video, we will be going through a war action film entitled The 800. There will be spoilers ahead, chill out and enjoy. The movie starts in Shanghai, where the National Revolutionary Army arrives as the city is ravaged by the war. Once they arrived at the city of Dachang, the Chinese soldiers could not find the remnants of their army. A scout finds the Imperial Japanese army burning the bodies of their fallen comrades. The Japanese notice him and the two sides go into battle. Duan Wu and his uncle pull the young Xiao Hubei into a dilapidated building to hide from the Japanese. In July of 1937, the Japanese invaded North China. As the two parties try to negotiate peace and join forces, the weakened Chinese army retreats to the west as Shanghai and Beijing fall to the enemy. A group of soldiers, along with deserters, pace in the middle of a war-torn city. The remaining soldiers of the NRA in Shanghai are retreating to the Sihang warehouse for refuge. The deserters are stubborn and refuse to help. Zhu orders for their execution, but Colonel Xie tasks them to work on fortifying outside instead. Duan stops Colonel Xie to explain that they weren't deserters and that the squad was scattered. He tells him that they were sent from Huangpai. Outside the warehouse, a batch of refugees arrive seeking shelter from the Suzhou Creek, where the British concession lies. The boy's uncle attempts to sneak in but is rejected since he was still wearing his military uniform. He tries to go in another way but is caught. Soldiers are needed to fight off the Japanese. If he was let in, everyone else would want to be let in and the Japanese will come. Back at the warehouse, the soldiers are listening to Eva, a singer on the other side of the creek. On the rooftop, Colonel Xie accepts Hubei as a soldier along with his brother, Duan. Kuai Yue, the soldier accompanying Hubei, openly welcomes him. The deserters that are stuck below the warehouse discover a way to the stables through a hole in the wall. They stare in amazement when they find a white horse and open the gate to touch it. The white horse immediately takes off and is galloping around the warehouse in fear. Kuai Yue whistles for it and calms it down. At the British concession, the street is full of refugees. Professor Zhang walks around them to head for a small restaurant serving food. A military jeep arrives and on it Yang Hyman announces that they're giving out free supplies. The war continues across the creek. Professor Zhang hears cheering from a building that's captured by the Japanese. He looks through a telescope, finds Japanese soldiers advancing on the other side of the creek. Everyone is under the impression that the Chinese have surrendered. However, Chinese soldiers start firing at Japanese soldiers scattered on the street. The Japanese march forward while some of the deserters hide in fear in one of the rooms below the warehouse. Not knowing that the warehouse is a trap, Japanese soldiers storm inside the building and are immediately ambushed by Chinese soldiers inside. A fight erupts. The Chinese soldiers successfully overpower them. Zhu asks the deserters to clean up the bodies of the Japanese, kill any survivors, and take their gear. Mr. Fang delivers news regarding the NRA to Colonel Isao of the Imperial Japanese Army. The colonel thanks him as he orders his soldiers to prepare for another battle. Back at the warehouse, the Chinese soldiers are cleaning up the dead. Japanese soldiers in a building just across the warehouse call for their attention. They demand the Chinese soldiers surrender. As an example of what's to come if they refuse, they dismember captured soldiers. One of those captured is Duan and Hubei's uncle, who yells out for Duan to keep Hubei safe, survive, and bring him home. Tired of the constant running away and fear from the deserters, Zhu forces them to kill the captured Japanese. He starts with old Abacus and forces him to make a choice. The Japanese soldier's lives or his. With a gun pointed at the back of his neck, old Abacus fires at one of the captured Japanese. Zhu goes for another soldier, Tai, who misses. Annoyed by the constant berating, Guai shoots two of the Japanese while Duan gets ready to shoot as well. He's shaking and chickens out at the last minute. Zhu goes for him and tells him to do it. He refuses, saying he won't kill, so Zhu pushes him up front and holds him at gunpoint. He finally pulls the trigger as Jinyuan forces him to stand in front of one and reminds him that his uncle was killed by the Japanese. Chinese students try to sneak out from the British concession to the other side. They run out the gate but get caught before they can go any further. From a second-floor building, a couple of people from the international press film the warehouse, to which one of them exclaims that it will be famous. At night, Duan, old Abacus, and another soldier sneak out through the waterway. They almost run into Japanese soldiers who are also using the waterway to sneak in. They hide underwater but stay under too long that the other soldier never resurfaces. Duan and old Abacus continue on with their escape. Duan has a change of heart and yells for Hubei to escape. Old Abacus tries to silence him, but all the yelling alerts the Chinese soldiers across the creek that the Japanese had reached the boundary. Another fight begins. The refugees from the other side of the creek are running around the street trying to find shelter. Some of them start watching the fight and cheering when they see Japanese soldiers thrown out of the building. Duan and old Abacus continue crossing the creek. Duan goes back when he hears the refugees call them heroes. He realizes he wants the recognition. British soldiers arrive and threaten to shoot them if they continue. Ju tasks Duan, old Abacus, Tai, and Guai to fortify the frontline defense. Guai goes out first to check on the enemy. He comes back and informs the other three that the Japanese are too close and they aim well. He suggests that only two go out and finish the job, but he asks them to leave Duan out of it. Old Abacus and Tai toss a coin to find out who will accompany Guai. It's Tai. He doesn't trust the coin and grabs it from old Abacus. He realizes that the coin has the same side and starts hitting the other man. Duan gets impatient and goes to follow Guai instead. Mr. Fang is in a meeting with the international press. He reckons that the Sihang warehouse will be taken over by the Japanese in 3 hours. They pay him generously for the information and ask him how much would he bet on it, but declines to join and leaves. The Japanese make preparations to attack the warehouse. As their assault begins, a blimp containing military observers hover close to the warehouse to watch. Hubei and Kuai Yue watch the fight from a hole in the west wall. A crane is approaching to destroy one of the warehouse's walls. The pair suggest dropping gas tanks instead of grenades. The situation seems dire as Chinese soldiers keep dropping left and right. 3 students that sneaked in from across the creek, and wanted to join the fight, are now scrambling to hide and survive. One dies when a grenade explodes next to him. Another is shot when he rushes to the window in fear, screaming that he doesn't want to fight anymore. Hubei hears the distress of the white horse that had run off from the warehouse. It's scared. Kuai Yue scolds him for peering out the window and he explains that he heard the white horse. Curious, Kuai Yue checks it out but is shot in the neck and dies. Creating a shield, a group of Japanese attempt to penetrate through the wall to drop an explosive. Shesheng reports their plan and tells his superior that if the Japanese are successful, they are done for. He wraps himself in explosive, jumps off the building right in the middle of the Japanese soldiers, and explodes. More soldiers follow his example and sacrifice their lives in order to save the others. They grab explosives and jump off the building one by one. Those watching from across the creek are tearing up as they watch each of the soldiers sacrifice their lives. A couple of soldiers and volunteers attempt to provide support by crossing the bridge, hiding under a Nazi flag while holding a cable roll. It's a phone line. A Japanese sniper shoots at them until they drop the cable and are unable to go back for it. Some of the refugees line up to sacrifice their lives to get the cable roll across. As payment, money will be sent to their family. Dozy, a staff member of a casino, decides to volunteer. He manages to cross the bridge despite numerous gunshots. Even with the soldiers ordering him to stay hidden, Dozy stands up and throws the cable roll towards the soldiers. He's successful but the sniper shoots him on the head. Xingwen, one of the volunteers and a journalist, documents the soldiers. She commends them for defending the warehouse for 3 whole days now. She asks Colonel Xie how many men are there in the warehouse. Hubei answers 420. But Colonel Xie corrects it by stating there are a total of 800 men. Old Abacus is planning to escape but Duan finds him and threatens to kill him. He begs Duan to let him go since with his missing fingers he won't be able to hold a gun and shoot anyone. He's scared and wants to start his own family. To boost the soldiers' morale, a group of people starts a donation drive. Everyone is scrambling to offer everything they can, from food to money to jewelry. Sister Rong donates a flag. Haman swims across the river to personally deliver the flag. Duan helps her get into the warehouse. A bullet grazes his neck. He freaks out thinking he'll die. Colonel Xie announces that under the Generalissimo's orders, they must defend the warehouse for 2 more days at all costs. He tells them to thank Haman for her bravery and they stand attention to the flag. He warns the soldiers raising the flag the next day will provoke the Japanese and unleash an even fiercer attack. The Chinese soldiers decide to raise the flag to show the enemy that they are still fighting. Colonel Xie informs them that if they have any last words for their family to write it and allow Haman to deliver it back to the concession. Ju chooses Guai to be the squad leader of the deserters and lead them to raise the flag. He accepts. The next morning, a total of 345 soldiers remain. The flag is slowly raised as Colonel Xie gives a speech. Those across the creek observe the raising of the flag. A loud alarm blares out. An A-5M Japanese aircraft arrives and the Chinese soldiers begin their plan. Refugees start running to hide again as the fight escalates. Soldiers fight hard to keep the flag from dropping. Guai heads for the flag when it falls. Zhu helps him keep the flag from dropping as Duan shoots and narrowly misses the pilot. Duan yells that the aircraft has left but realizes that he's been hit. While they're trying to treat him, he tells Colonel Xie everything he wants to relay to Hubei. Duan dies. That evening, Chinese soldiers stand across the Suzhou Creek to salute before hurrying back inside the warehouse. It is revealed that 14 hours earlier, Colonel Xie had met with Colonel Isao. The Chinese were ordered to retreat while the Japanese were told to use heavy artillery. Colonel Isao wants a battle of honor between them before he's replaced. It'll be their last fight. The commissioner arrives with a letter for Colonel Xie. In it, the Generalissimo orders them to concede the warehouse to the British. They argue whether to give in or not. The commissioner points out that it's a foregone conclusion. With no one willing to help them, the fight has become a lost cause. The commissioner persuades him to agree for the lives of the remaining soldiers. Colonel Xie gives the order to retreat. In order to buy time for the others to escape, some soldiers volunteer to stay behind and distract the Japanese. When midnight comes, the Chinese soldiers are asked to group themselves into 20 and cross the bridge for a higher chance of survival. A little girl across the creek paid her respect by saluting, which they returned. The remaining soldiers open the gate to the warehouse. Hubei follows them. Come midnight, a flare is shot, hinting that the Japanese were ready. Once the soldiers begin to cross, the Japanese begin their assault. Professor Zhang gets angry seeing the brutal massacre of those crossing the bridge. He grabs a shotgun from his closet to provide support. Another flare is shot out. Colonel Xie watches everything from the bridge, realizing he can't save everyone. He is eventually shot as well. The movie ends with the refugees stretching their hands out from the barricade, watching as the soldiers are shot trying to cross the bridge. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more videos like this and to help the channel grow.